Hello again.
I guess we're here. We're on. Before we continue our music chat, or things not music and some things music, or however we...
It's all
word it.
music.
It's all music. We want to take care of a little bit of business. Jam-ology is offering virtual lessons with both myself and Jeff. And you contact Jam-ology, and we can schedule it, and you can talk with Mike at Jam-ology, and we'll be doing that.
Right. So, in the words of the immortal Soupy Sales, take all that green stuff out of your mommy's and daddy's wallet. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he got kicked off the air for that one.
Right. So green stuff now, the equivalent being PayPal, Venmo.
Yes, PayPal or pictures of dead presidents or anything you want to call it. But anyway, so that's being offered. So people that see this at other locations beyond here in St. Augustine will get the opportunity to hang out with us and take lessons, and we'll be happy to raise you up the rungs of this ladder as we raise ourselves up the
Yeah, but you know
rungs.
what? What gives us the authority to think that we can actually do that? I mean, why are we making these claims?
Well, I think I think we've spent enough time standing behind the guitar and the bass that we might have some things that
Well,
we can
I
offer.
would sit at times, but I mean, the question always has come, like, well, who are we that we can even make these claims that we can help you all with your playing? I mean, it's not that we can't, but who are you? Who are you? Who are you today? I don't know. I'm not myself today. But like, who are you?
Well, I mean, people could find out what we did and what our claim to fame or lack thereof.
Or you can
by
tell
doing a
people.
search.
You can whet their appetites.
Well, I mean, our associations, graduate of Berkeley and taught with, and studied with Dennis Sandoli and Charlie Benakis and toured with a number of acts, not necessarily the list. So we have a little bit of insight,
So you got a lot more insight than you're letting on, my friend.
Well, maybe, and so do you. So,
I'm not bashful about putting my the eclecticism of my resume into 4 words. My resume spans Johnny Winter, Rita Moreno, Jerry Mulligan, and Village People. I have played with all those people. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to say, Russ, you're far too. What's the right word, Ken?
Modest.
But you know what he isn't. I know
you guys,
the guy.
You guys have played with a lot of the big names out there. And
my biggest connection, I guess. I mean, besides doing, some of the R&B acts and the Drifters and the Coasters and Little Anthony,
Those are
Chuck
big,
Berry
those
and Bo
were
Diddley.
huge selling acts.
Well, I guess
Not everybody can walk in there
but
and
also,
play, right?
My biggest association and the thing that makes me, at least to me, relevant is my association with my one of my great heroes, George Benson, and working alongside George on albums like Tenderly and Big Boss Band, and
What were you doing with him for those records?
Well, Tenderly, he called me at 2 a.m. and he just said, "Can you meet me at Clinton Studios?" And he said, because I'm gonna have Ron Carter and McCoy Tyner and Frank and Al Foster.
Nobody good.
Yeah, nobody good. No good players. To do an album that he was co-producing with Tommy LaPuma. It was I think one of his last albums with Warner Brothers. And it was a jazz album. He did Stella by Starlight. He did a lot of great tunes. And then, so I was his sidekick, his side man. He'd go go in the booth and play some tunes and let me hear the levels, and he'd ask my opinion if I thought it was a good solo or not, which, everything George touches in my mind is a good solo. Anyway, but that's enough of blowing smoke up everybody's dress about this stuff.
Well, but you know what? There is smoke to be blown. There always
I mean,
is.
we've all...
Tommy
both of us-
LaPuma, for instance, is known as a, producer to people like Diana Krall. I mean,
Right.
all kinds of people. But I don't know if you know this story. You've heard us talk about our mutual friend, Denny LaRue, right?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Denny LaRue had a good friend, as did I, named Harold Kleiner. And Harold Kleiner was married to Tommy LaPuma's sister, I believe. So I was once actually in Tommy LaPuma's apartment and on Park Avenue. Beautiful place. But you know what I found really interesting? Apparently before he became a record producer, Tommy LaPuma was a barber. And he had his barber's license displayed on his fireplace. I mean, talk about being cognizant of where you come from,
He had insight to talk George Benson into singing a song by Leon Russell that George was reluctant to do.
And guess what? Who knows what that song is? I do.
Anyway.
He does.
It's called Masquerade. You know,
This Masquerade, technically. What key we playing in, guys? Don't tell him, Russ. Let him guess. That's just the intro. Play some of the melody so they know what you're talking about.
Now, part of this program is for you guys to teach us some of these things. That
Well, I mean, that's-
we
I
are
mean, that's-
music lovers and not necessarily music players.
So you want to give a language to this meandering that we're doing
Yeah.
here. Am I correct about that?
Correct?
Okay, so a very interesting thing just happened. Now this is the musical part of the thing. George Benson's recording is in F minor. So we started out vamping in the key of George Benson's recording.
Right.
When I said to Russ, when I shamed him into playing the melody just now, he played it in C minor. And you know what? Part of what we do is we turn on a dime. If we hear something that somebody else is doing, whether it's, us with our partnership or somebody else that we're playing behind, we immediately know what to do. And that's part of what we teach. We don't teach, like, for lack of a better word, like YouTube athleticism
Right, or
music.
by
I
rote.
mean, we teach practical ways of getting the job done, not just as a instrumentalist, but to being an instrumentalist in an ensemble or playing behind a vocalist or how to play for somebody in a pit orchestra, all unsung stuff. And there is no shame in playing in a pit orchestra. I did a bunch of shows on Broadway. I subbed it a bunch. I played a bunch, and I subbed at Cats, the Andrew Lloyd Webber show. And I was the staff guy, the regular guy, at Starlight Express, another Andrew Lloyd Webber show. And who was playing the tenor saxophone in there? Bob Mintzer. Mm-hmm. So, there's one of the greatest musicians, arrangers, instrumentalists in the entire world, and he's taking a Broadway gig because, hey, why not? Certainly made the orchestra better from him being in it.
But anyway, George did that and Reluctant, and it became a #1 hit, and they gave him Grammys. And yes, it was done in F minor. His opening line, if you remember, was
Yep. What's that technique called where he was singing and playing at the same
Scatting?
time? That would be it, I guess.
But
And you know what? To non-musicians, a really musical thing hooked the non-musician. Listen, he's singing and playing. You didn't have to be a musician to get what he did.
Right.
You know what I mean? To think it was cool.
And at the time, it was extremely unique, especially to the pop world. But anyway, Tommy LaPuma was influential in that. We're going off on this Tommy LaPuma thing, but anyway, so what we can do for you is take you from wherever you are in your playing and bring you up another rung on the ladder or more. You don't have to, forget what you already know. We'll evaluate where you are and take you up the next rung.
Yeah, or put you closer to these guys that you listen to and idolize.
Right.
Show you how they do it. And make it like turn you into more of a colleague than a fan.
Right.
You
I
know?
mean, I guess we could probably kind of say we're musical coaches.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so that's being offered at Jam-ology. What else do we want to chat about?
All kinds of stuff.
Oh,
Nice shirt.
thanks. You too.
Nice hat. Thank you.
Guys, I've always had such an appreciation of hearing where someone started out and where they are and where they're going. And some of the stories that you guys have told me in all of our conversations have intrigued me. And I know a lot of times you guys are, which is actually I appreciate, is that you guys are fairly humble, even though you can shout out loud that you can do. So I've always wondered, it's like, Russ, you said when I was like 7, I picked up a guitar and that was my best friend. And
It
so
was,
on,
I was an only child. So it was like, get off the table with the grown-ups and go entertain yourself. So short of forcing myself to go to sleep on a plastic-covered couch by one of my Italian aunts.
I know that couch.
My face would stick to it. Eventually I went to Sears and Roebuck and spent $29 with my newspaper money, and bought a Sears Silvertone guitar and sit there and learned how to play Hang On Sloopy and and that was it. And I'd sit there and play it over and over again and entertain myself.
Yeah, but one important question. Was it the Bergen record?
No,
That you were
it was
what
the
were you
Hudson
doing?
Dispatch.
Oh, my God.
Only people in Bergen County, New Jersey, and Hudson County know
Which is
that
where
record.
he's from.
Right, which was early at 5:30 in the morning. Anyway, so it became my favorite toy, and you get lost in it. Of course, like I said, I think in an earlier podcast, at a certain age, everything's an activity. Playing music, playing Little League, playing, hanging out on the street corner. Eventually, playing music and guitar became, it eclipsed all the others, to the point where, I would cut the Sears catalog pages of guitars out and put it in my loose leaf. And as teachers were teaching, I'd be staring at these things in my loose leaf book,
So it
guitar
became
was the
much
intrigue.
more than a toy to you, didn't it?
Well, yeah, it became a passion, and and at some point you realize that you're hooked on music that goes beyond the fact that you've become noted in your local circle as being the musician, and Russ is bringing his guitar to the party, and we're going to sing some songs, and and you're going to walk around and play your acoustic guitar throughout high school on the first Earth Day. And sing "This Long as This Land Is My Land,"
I love it.
but
Yeah,
it
were you
becomes an
the-
identity.
Were you ever the fastest guitarist in the school?
I was probably no.
I mean,
there
that
was
was
a bunch of good guitar players in my school. There were.
No, but I'm talking about, some
playing
of
the-
us were
yes.
the fastest guitar
Yeah,
players.
talking loud
and that
and
was in
saying
the advent
nothing.
of Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Clapton.
Right.
You
Yeah. Well, you talk loud and you say nothing. But at some point, you start to take it serious, and my parents wanted to know how come I was an okay student in high school, and then when I got to college, which was a music school, you get dean's list. That was a shock to them, But when you apply yourself, but one thing this discipline did teach me, and I'm sure you, is you learn a lot about life through a discipline. It's kind of like the Zen version of taking an art and learning a lot about a lot of things through it. Whether it's learning how to be part of a team, part of a band, learning different philosophies, the psychology of how you memorize something and how you can recall it, stuff like that.
And
Anyway,
there's a negative side to what you're talking about because, it can become your life. And then you're not able to do other things in your life that either your parents would want you to, or that it's a slippery slope.
Well-
and which is what you learn as you keep going.
you
know?
do, but I think that anything you develop, you embrace as a passion, you can become narcissistic about it, and I'm sure we've both dealt with that in our lifetime, but you have to be committed to something. But anyway, we're coming short of our time here for this little snippet of a podcast.
So have we answered your question, Mike?
Only partially, because I've heard some really interesting stories, and I'm sure as time goes by, we'll be more revealing about some of what brought you to where you are today.
As time goes by.
So we will be back next week with another snippet of a podcast. So watch out for it.